It is an honor and a pleasure to present former Ohio Supreme Court Justice and current of-council member of Voorhees, Saders, Seymour, and Peace in their Columbus office with the Foundation's highest award. In this business, we talk a lot about how the law is the most noble profession, about how at the heart of it all, lawyers become lawyers because they want to help others. There is no higher honor bestowed from the Foundation than the Ritter Award. It is the pinnacle of recognizing the nobility in our profession, those among us whose lifetime accomplishments attain and promote the highest levels of professionalism, integrity, and ethics in the practice of law, while assisting other attorneys, the courts, and the public to envision and cause changes which improve the justice system in Ohio. After spending the first 9 years of her legal career as a trial lawyer, Eve knew she could do more, that she could help more people. With that goal in mind, she set out to run for judge, and won. She was the first woman elected to the Franklin County Common Pleas Court, where she began serving in 1989. She quickly realized that in cases where mental illness had influenced a defendant's criminal activity, there might be a more effective way to serve the courts and the defendants. Fast forward to 1996, when Eve was appointed to the Ohio Supreme Court, serving until 2012. It was during her Supreme Court tenure that she knew she had the platform to fundamentally transform the way Ohio's courts manage cases with mental illness as a contributing factor. During her Supreme Court re-election campaigns, Eve used every opportunity to advocate for the changes. As she recalls, I gave more than 100 speeches the first time I ran for the Supreme Court. I would only talk about convening mental health and criminal justice professionals to initiate changes in the court system. While having a unique opportunity to spread the word, I could be the voice for the voiceless. I got to campaign for my real passion and for what was right. I had no budget, no background, no training when I eventually called on 10 people to help me form the Supreme Court of Ohio Advisory Committee on Mental Illness in the Courts in 2001. But we had the will to make it happen. The committee went on to establish 38 mental health courts, trained more than 10,000 officers about mental health issues, recommended changes to Medicaid, and worked to enact a new juvenile competency statute. Eve, however, isn't finished being the voice for the voiceless. After the success of the mental health specialty courts, she has turned her attention and advocacy to developing veterans courts to assist those veterans with post-traumatic stress disorder who find themselves as defendants in Ohio's courtrooms. Eve is leveraging her role as president of the Ohio Military and Veterans Legal Assistance Project to further expand and support the statewide referral system that connects veterans and military families to pro bono lawyers, bar associations, legal aid, and law school clinics. Not one to rest on her laurels, Eve is working to let Ohio's specialty courts become models for other states. She has co-founded and co-chaired the Judges Leadership Initiative, a national association that supports cooperative mental health programs in the criminal justice system. Eve says she is inspired by her family's military experience. My dad served in the military, but he didn't return with PTSD or a traumatic brain injury caused by an exploding IED. But my DNA is hardwired in me to change the dynamics for today's vets. They should not suffer alone or in silence. Our country owes them that. For her efforts, Eve has been honored with the Ohio State Association of Veterans Service Commission's Outstanding Service Award and the Ellis Island Medal of Honor. As Steve Tugend, longtime friend and former campaign manager, states, when Eve enters people's lives, they will always be better off. She listens to others and sincerely cares to give them the help they need. Eve uses her favorite parable to explain why she continues to work to improve the justice system. I've always been an optimistic person, so I love that 5,000 are fed when 5 loaves and 2 fish are multiplied. As lawyers, aren't we all called to use our talents to elevate others? Ladies and gentlemen, please all rise and join me in congratulating the 2017 Ritter Award recipient, retired Honorable Justice Evelyn Lundberg Stratton.
I think there's no higher honor than to be honored by your peers. And so, in that sense, this is a very, very special award for me. There are so many in this room that have become lifetime dear friends from all the work that we've done together, and I treasure every one of you. I have a couple of thank yous. I want to thank Mike McCarthy, who is our now executive president of our Operation Legal Help Ohio, as we've sort of renamed ourselves. He is an active military command in the Marines, but he still finds time to work on our organization. We have over 400 lawyers now that volunteer, but both the Bar Association and the Foundation have been absolutely wonderful supporters, contributors, financially, free CLEs. You've really made a difference in that. Steve and Sue Tugin, my first statewide campaign chair and my first statewide treasurer, have also become lifetime friends and are here. Pete and Donna, Pete's in the back taping and Donna in the front. My third campaign, they decided to do Circuit Riders for Stratton. A little story about this room. The Republicans tend to have their conventions here. They're a very stodgy, staid, conservative lot. I have a sort of a fun side to me, and so Pete, he and his wife rode motorcycles to all 88 counties for Circuit Riders for Stratton on my third campaign, decided we were going to make a grand entrance. So we rode up in 4 motorcycles. I strode through the staid group to the front of this room, took my helmet off and shook my hair down, and they still remember that campaign. I want to thank Pete because he does a newsletter for me that is on veterans. It was his idea. It goes out across the entire country. It has 20 to 30 pages chock full of information. My name is all over it, and I don't do a lick of work. He does 20 to 30 hours a week putting that together without any pay. And then Carrie, who's sitting down here in front, is my assistant. She manages my rather crazy schedule because every meeting that starts with 2 ends up with 10, so now she has 10 schedules to manage. And the law firm sitting behind her, Voorhees. The only problem with joining Voorhees is half of the lawyers I knew retired when I started. I hope there wasn't a correlation. But I've gotten to know a whole new batch. They are absolutely wonderful to work for, and I haven't met a lawyer yet I don't like there, so thank you for coming. And my husband, who you saw in some of the pictures with our little cabin in Montana, is still in Montana, except that little cabin has a foot of snow right now. He could not be here, but there has never been a more supportive husband. My crazy schedules, my meetings, my working long hours, I have never once had a complaint for him, and he has always been supportive. So instead I had to drag his mother here to represent him for me, and his mother is also become one of my very, very good friends. And so I'm so grateful for all of these friends and family, but I have to tell you that I sometimes feel very guilty standing up here and getting an award like this. I have a very easy job in this way. I call a meeting and people come. And I think of myself really as a convener, and I start task forces, and I have these meetings, and we start projects. But it's really the easy job. The hard job are those that work with those who have mental illness. The judges who spend countless extra hours on their dockets for which they get no pay, dealing with the toughest of the toughest. Those who run halfway houses, those who do reentry work, those who do social service work with domestic violence victims, with those who are dementia and have Alzheimer's. And the families who have someone with mental illness, never knowing when they're going to decompensate, when they're going to have to call the police, when they're going to get violent, when they're going to threaten suicide, when they're going to commit suicide. And the veterans' families who come back with veterans who are damaged in body, in their mind, in their head, in their soul, in their spirit. They work day after day without good pay, sometimes no pay, with no privileges, no laudatory congratulations. They work in the trenches and they make it happen, and they care for those that our society often overlooks or doesn't care about or doesn't give the funding for. They are really the ones who deserve awards like this. And so I accept this award with gratitude to all of you who honor me by giving this, but with even more gratitude to those who really have the hard job, because without what they did, my job would have no value and no meaning. They are our true heroes, and I thank them, and thank you.